So Caitlin Clark's agent come out and said that the WNBA will likely never be able to pay Caitlin Clark what she's worth. No doubt.
Only earning pocket change. That's the harsh reality for Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. You might be wondering, how is this even possible? It all comes down to the league's financial challenges and a system that doesn't fairly compensate players for their true value.
But this time, the complaints about minimum wage, they are coming from someone with merit. This time, the complaints are coming from someone who is actually being underpaid. Hell, underpaid is an understatement. She is severely underpaid. Headline at ESPN. Caitlin Clark's agent claims that she and other WNBA players are underpaid. Here we go again with the partial truth. Like I said, other WNBA players, they are fortunate to receive their minimum wage salaries, but I think we can all agree Caitlin Clark is underpaid.
Getting such a raw deal raises big questions about the future of the game. Buckle up. This story is about to get wild. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark's salary situation because it's absolutely mind-blowing. Can you believe she's only making $75,000 a year? That's less than what some people earn working at high-end restaurants. It's shocking to think that one of the biggest stars in basketball is making so little. She deserves to be paid what she's worth.
She deserved to be paid more than $75,000. Caitlin Clark was also responsible for 27% of the WNBA's economic activity. Without Caitlin Clark, the Dump could have lost over $60 million last season instead of $50 million.
You might be wondering, how much is she really worth to the league? Well, get ready for this. Caitlin Clark is responsible for 27% of the WNBA's economic activity. That means one player is driving more than a quarter of the league's entire impact. It's like she's carrying the whole league on her back, and the evidence is everywhere.
Indianapolis Star. Caitlin Clark was responsible for generating $36 million for the city of Indianapolis.
Things get even stranger. Despite Caitlin Clark bringing in massive attention and revenue, the WNBA is still losing money. How is that even possible? It's like having the most popular lemonade stand with lines around the block, but still not turning a profit. The truth is, the WNBA has been in the red for 30 years straight, 3 decades without making money. And now, they have a superstar who's practically carrying a league that struggles to sustain itself. It's like Clark is trying to bail out a sinking ship with a teaspoon.
And you saw a reflection that attendance, gate. We don't talk about gate revenue enough, but gate revenue is how much are you willing to pay to literally get in and sit down and watch Caitlin Clark play? Well, a lot of fans were willing to pay much more than the actual original ticket value. All right, so that's why you saw so many big gate revenues. The aftermarket sales were blowing up, especially like during those Angel.
And the league never pulled big ratings, no. You might be wondering, why don't they just pay her more? She's clearly worth it. Well, that's where things get complicated. The WNBA has a salary cap that's tighter than a brand new sneaker, meaning they can't just throw money at Clark, even if they wanted to. But here's the kicker. Clark isn't just bringing in money, she's bringing in viewers. People are tuning in, and for the first time in a long time, the WNBA is getting the kind of attention it always hoped.
I don't think it's a stretch to say, honestly, she ought to be making like $10 million a year just to play basketball. And we're not even talking endorsements. I just think that her branding is that powerful coming into the league, and they've got no way of paying her that. Why? Because the league has historically never made any money and never got any ratings.
Her impact on the game would be this huge. Yet, despite the surge in interest, the league still can't seem to turn a profit. This brings us to the big question. How can the WNBA pay Caitlin Clark what she's truly worth? The league's financial structure is like a complicated puzzle, and Clark's value is a piece that just doesn't fit. The salary rules and regulations were set long before anyone imagined a player like her would come along. And now, the system is struggling to keep up.
Like there should have literally been a Jordan-like Clark brand that was birthed out as she entered the league. That's the amount of pull that she's got. Literally, she is the WNBA's equivalent of Michael Jordan coming into the league.
But here's the thing. If the WNBA doesn't figure out a way to pay players like Caitlin Clark what they're worth, they risk losing them. The league needs to find a way to capitalize on stars like Clark without bankrupting itself. Right now, it's like they're walking the high wire, trying to balance player salaries with financial realities. So, what's the solution? Well, that's the million-dollar question, or in Clark's case, the multi-million-dollar question. Whatever it is, they better figure it out fast because Clark isn't just changing the game, she's changing the entire league. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The WNBA's liability problem. You might assume that with all the Caitlin Clark buzz, the league's viewership must be skyrocketing, right? Well, hold on to your seat, because the reality might shock you, and that's all a byproduct of
need to be paid more. She should be recognized for what she has done and what's brought to the league from an economic standpoint. It's as simple as that. A supermax contract under the WNBA's current CBA is worth nearly $242,000, and by the time Clark gets a chance to negotiate a new deal, the landscape could be changed. A product of the players that are in the league right now making themselves extremely unlikable. Now, the Brianna Turner signing with the Indiana Fever, and she had a lot to say prior to coming over here. Fans ain't forgot that. And now that the Fever is being called out, now that she's being called out, you're seeing an implosion in the fandom now. I mean, seriously. Of course, that kind of person is going to get called out. Well, the problem is there's a lot of those kind of people in the league, and people never watched it. So the media rights contract deal was not good enough. And make no mistake, folks, when it comes to professional sports, the money is tied to the television revenue. All right? You see these massive deals in these other sports. Well, that's because there's crazy amount of money being paid. A lot of people feel like networks have been overpaying for the NBA for years now. Major League Baseball, etc. Well, that's why the NFL, these networks are willing to give these enormous amounts of money, and that's why you see the contracts.
A real commissioner would tell WNBA players, if you want more money, generate more profit. Hell, generate some profit. This dump hasn't generated a Colombian peso in profit in the last 30 years. How in the hell can you ask for a raise when the cook at Waffle House is generating more profit than you are?
Kind of pool that she's got. Literally, she is the WNBA's equivalent of Michael Jordan coming into the league. You guys, I used to say it a lot. Steph Curry, the hybrid love child of Steph Curry and Larry Bird, with the marketing, the branding of Michael Jordan. That's pretty damn good. If the WNBA was smart, they would literally be selling out a Caitlin Clark package, maybe of some sorts, to these networks. In other words, how much are you willing to pay for 5 Caitlin Clark games? Oh, well, shit, we're willing to pay blah, blah, blah. Because there's a world where, believe it or not, those 5 games might actually be worth 5 to 10 million to 12 million viewers, which is more than a lot of NBA games get, right? So that's kind of how I would have tried to have looked at it, if possible. But I don't know that their business is set up where they can actually do that for just one player. Only player in the league that you can honestly say deserves millions of dollars, right? Because she's the only one that moves the needle. Regardless of how they want to try to market like 4, 5, 6 other players to be as big as her, the statistics and analytics don't bear that out. They don't. They don't have the impact. Are they going to recognize, look, we can ask for money, but it's going to have to be reasonable enough, or this league still won't turn a profit, and they should. I've done the math. They should actually turn a profit based on the new media rights deal that came with the NBA. But if the salaries go up so much, there's a world where, no, they don't turn a profit. Still, the Women's National Basketball Players Association opted out of the current CBA last October with the possibility of work stoppage if a new deal is not reached by the end of the 2025 season. the union sought a deal that would increase player salaries are going to go up. Are they going to go up to the extent that some of these players believe? I don't think so. They can't. They're not going to get paid what the NBA is getting paid because the television contracts are astronomically.
We are entering the summer of complaints. We are entering a summer where WNBA players will constantly whine about their salaries. They will use Caitlin Clark. They will take advantage of Caitlin Clark to secure more money for themselves.